costs came in much higher.
Yeah, the construction costs came in higher. It ended up being that close to 18.5 million. There was an additional $2,700,000, I think, that was added to the original appropriation.
But
This was before construction. I mean, this
Right.
was when we were going out to bid.
Right, but still, when Catherine Craven and Tim Cahill came here, they couldn't believe what we accomplished for $18.5 million, if you recall.
Oh, we got over $8 million in reimbursement, believe it or not. So the total cost of that school was about $10 million.
Right.
Yeah.
And that committee did a great job, because that was probably the project we have before us is difficult, it's big, but it's extremely exciting. But the difficulties in getting that project approved and built were probably...
Yeah, I said it before, I'll say it again, the committee was tremendous. There were 7 people, essentially. We did not have a project manager. We did not have the MSBA guidance. And we kind of did it on our own with the aid of an architect and eventually a clerk of the works. So, but this committee, and Jane in particular, did a great job. So, do we have a motion to dissolve the elementary school building committee?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. So we have a motion from Cliff and a second from Mel. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, none. Motion carries by a vote of 4-0. Okay, bills and payrolls. Did we get those signed, Cliff? Speaking of the devil, they're sitting here. Minutes. We have the October 24th, 2011 executive session minutes.
I will make a motion to approve the October 24th, 2011 executive committee meeting minutes.
And do we have a second?
I think I was in.
Cliff can't second it.
Cliff wasn't here. He could, but he shouldn't. Okay. So a motion by Mel and a second by Mike to approve the October 24th, 2011 executive session minutes. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None? And 1 abstention. So we have 3 in favor, and Cliff is abstaining. We also have October 24th, 2011 open session minutes.
Also make a motion to approve the October 24th, 2011 open session minutes.
Second it.
Okay, we motion by Mel and a second by Cliff on the October 24th, 2011 open session minutes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Motion carries by a vote of 4-0. We have a budget update from Mr. Nelson, if he's
Yes, thank
feeling
you.
up to it. He doesn't sound very good.
I know, I was a little nervous there for a few seconds.
I could tell from the last discussion his voice is not.
Well, thank you. We have our budget report that brings us through the end of October. What I try to do is point out the highlights or the things of value that we're having to react to, whether they be good or bad. And as you know, I believe it was during the month of late September at least, we learned what our final circuit breaker allocation is going to be. We had budgeted that conservatively back in May and June because we had no idea what it was going to be. And in that case, the legislature funded circuit breaker to an extent that was much higher than we expected. So we have some cash that we're able to reallocate, and the superintendent has directed that we reallocate, and I believe she's reported on this in the past, the sum of $32,000 for the purposes of district-wide professional development. The committee may recall that in the latter stages of the budget development process last spring, we literally zeroed out the professional development line in academic services budget. And it went from about $32,000 to zero. So this is a much-needed reallocation that we've already effected. On the payroll side, it is the first week of November that we traditionally quantify the cost of teacher credits. And of course, those are professional development experiences that teachers have been involved with during the past 12 months or so. And the committee understands that the stipends are paid to teachers based on the accumulation of credits that they've received. So we're still adding them up, but I'm noting in this report that the projected costs will be fairly quite a bit higher than we had anticipated, perhaps in the range of $20,000 to $25,000 higher than we had projected. That's significant. It's a difficult item to budget each year because you don't always know what college courses people are taking, when they'll finish them, how they'll finish it. You don't always know when teachers are going to be involved in internal programs as well. I think what's happening here in our teacher credit area is that the demographics, if that's the right term to use, of our teaching staff is changing, and we have a emerging group of young teachers in their 20s who are very much involved in professional development, and we need to react to that and budget it better next year. So that is something we'll be able to cover, but it does reduce the flexibility we have this year, and perhaps reduces what we can carry forward next year as well. We'll have more specific information on that at the next meeting. So those are the two reportable facts, if you will, for the budget report. I'm confident that we're still in the black, that we can meet our payroll obligations through the end of the year, and we'll be happy to take questions.
Any questions for
Yeah.
Mr. Nelson?
Carl, you do show a small projected deficit for the end of the year for payroll, and I know we can,
Yes.
for salaries, we can, move some money around to cover that. But is that a concern that if this early in the year we're showing that kind of deficit, and could that grow?
Well, I'll tell you where that's coming from. The second line down is differentials. You see that one? And that is the credits I just spoke of.
Right.
So that is the primary source. Well, there's
There's
some
the
paras,
inclusion
too.
specialist too,
Yeah, there were,
That's a big one.
Yeah.
that was a big one. We'd reported on that before. There were 2 additional paraprofessionals hired this year, which have impacted that line. What I'm hoping will happen here is in the substitute line. I mean, that's another one. You're never really certain what's going to happen with
No, we can't
people's
do.
leaves of absence. So, as you can see, we have 313,000. This is the 4th line down, entitled substitutes. The 4th line down,